For this next one, I'm going to try to show you a relatively easy way to fill in this trigonometric chart. First of all, I've given them to you in radians. If you look at the unit circle, oops, pencil broke. If you look at the unit circle, it goes from 0 degrees to 90 degrees to 180 degrees to 270 degrees, all the way back on to 360 degrees. So that's all the way around the circle. Well, in radians, it's the actual length of this circle. It goes from 0 to 2 pi. So it goes from 0 to 2 pi. And if you cut it in half, you're at pi. If you cut it in half again, you're at pi over 2. So those are just cutting the unit circle into pieces. This part over here is 3/2 pi, or 3 pi over 2. And then you could do this conversion however you like, but these are pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. Converting radians to degrees is not too hard because 180 degrees is the same as pi radians. So for instance, if you wanted to convert 30 degrees into radians, you would multiply 30 degrees by pi over 180, and you would get pi over 6. Now, the key thing you have to memorize to get this chart are these first 5 values. If you can memorize these values in this box right here, everything in here, then everything else should come pretty easily. Okay, the values that you need to memorize are 0, 1/2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, and 1. If you can memorize those values in that order, the rest of the chart should be pretty easy. Now sometimes people need a little trick to memorize those at first, and I'll show you a little trick that's always true. 0 is the same as the square root of 0 over 2. 1/2 is the same as the square root of 1 over 2. This is definitely the square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 3 over 2. And 1 is even the square root of 4 over 2. So if you can remember the square root of something over 2, this is the square root of 0 over 2, 1 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, square root of 4 over 2 gets you those values. But either way, these are the ones you have to memorize. Once you have those, the cosine values end up being the exact same values in opposite order. So 1, square root of 3 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1/2, and 0. So if you can memorize what's in this box comes pretty easily. Tangent theta is nice because tangent theta is sine theta over cosine theta. So for instance, 0 over 1, sine theta over cosine theta is just 0. 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2. Well, the 2's and the denominators cancel out, and you're just left with 1 over square root of 3. You don't have to do this calculation every time. You might just have it memorized eventually. But if you have these already, these just come right away. It's this one over this one. These are the same. Square root of 2 over 2 over square root of 2 over 2 is just 1. Square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Again, the 1/2's cancel out. You're just left with square root of 3. And this ends up being 1 over 0, which is undefined. There's actually an asymptote at 90 degrees or pi over 2 for tangent theta. The rest of these are at the major values where they're 1 or -1, and they kind of alternate. So sine theta is 0, 1, then it goes back to 0, and then -1, and back to 0 again. In fact, this row and this row should be the same, because at 0 degrees and 360 degrees, it should be the same. For cosine theta, it starts at 1, goes to 0, then goes to -1, back to 0. And for tangent theta, these are, again, 0 over -1 is 0, and -1 over 0 is undefined. So hopefully if you can remember these 5 numbers in order, the rest of the chart should be pretty easy to fill in.